is when you go ahead and plug it into max, it's going to stretch from here down to your feet, and it's going to deform your mesh because it's not under the control of a bone like it should be. Also, you want to watch out for down in the thighs. This is especially the case with boots, that it's not crossing over. See what just happened right there? If the envelope is too big, it's grabbing things from the other leg, and that's going to really create some bad effects and bad stretching in the armor. This side is going to try to pull over to that side while you're running, and it's going to look really weird. Okay? So we want to make sure that this is only getting things right down the middle and on this thigh guard, and it is. And it's overlapping a little bit. If there's no overlap, then what's going to happen is you're going to get a really stiff motion from this part to this part. You might think that because it's metal armor it should do that, but it's not good because it'll create a weird stretching. Let's say that you wanted this middle spine to have total red control over this middle section, and this thigh to have total red control over this section. What's going to happen is right in between here, there's going to be a lot of really bad stretching because this isn't going to move, and this is only going to move, and then this middle part is going to get stretched like crazy while you're running. So you want to always overlap. Overlap is going to create a nice fluid motion. Maybe it's not exactly true to life, but in the end, in the scale of fate, you're not going to notice it. Okay, so let's keep going through all of our bones here. Make sure everything got logically assigned here. So here's the right thigh. Alright, let's go up into the arms. Clavicle is not something we're going to use to really exert a lot of control over this area. We're going to use it on these shoulder guards, and I'm going to get into that in a minute here. Okay, let's click on the forearms. Okay, it's getting pretty good control like it should. The hand should pretty much have total red control over the hand. Nothing else should be pulling on it. The hand should stay pretty much stiff and stationary. It shouldn't be moving around really. So the hand should have total control over the hand, and just a little bit over the forearm so that everything flows nicely. Okay, and then next is the upper arm. Notice here, if I look at the upper arm, let me go ahead and zoom in. Eye centers your view. To the right of the P key, you have those brackets. They also quickly zoom you in and out without having to use a mouse wheel if you're on a laptop like me. Look at what's happening here. The envelope is exerting control not just over the arm, but over a big portion of the chest and over the neck. If you were doing a cloth armor, that's great, because then, you know, the arm should be moving with the chest and everything's nice and fluid. For a metal armor, we're not going to want that, and I'm going to show you why in just a second. So we're going to come back to this. So at least it is getting these vertices like we want it to, but we don't want it to have this wide of a control. So we're going to change that actually in a minute. I'm going to show you how we're going to do that. Okay, let's check the other arm. Let's zoom back out here. So we got the left clavicle, forearm, hand, upper arm, everything's looking good. Neck, we want the neck to have only just a little bit of control over the neck. If it has total control, you know, in that idle motion, at least from the original Fate character, not the teenager, the head moves all back and forth, back and forth. You don't want this metal neckband to be moving like crazy, so give the neck just a little bit of control. The rest of the control of those vertices in the neck are being controlled by the spine. So like you can see here, everything's sort of sharing control. There are very few things except for like the hands. In a second we're going to give these shoulder guards some absolute control, but very few things have a total red absolute control over any part of the mesh. It's a lot of overlap, so everything's nice and fluid, nothing's really stretching in a weird way. Okay, so right now it looks like everything's skinned pretty nice, right? All the vertices are selected, we got lots of overlap, but there's a few things we're going to need to tweak, and I'm going to show you why. At any point we can go to the top of our stack here, we can grab a bone, any bone, go into the motion tab, come out of figure mode, and now we're going to get into our little animation pose here. Banded Mail already comes with a running animation, which is great for seeing what your mesh looks like. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and just play that animation so that we can see what we've got here so far. Okay, now it looks pretty good, right? But there's a few little details that aren't so good, and we're going to take a look at these. So let me put this back to the beginning of the animation. Let's grab a bone. Let's grab the hand here. Now I can go ahead and take this hand bone. If I move it around in character mode, it's going to move the mesh around however I want. Don't worry about, oh, I'm not going to be able to put it back. For one, it doesn't really matter, but all you got to do is just drag the slider right here, and it snaps right back into where it was. Okay? So let's move that hand around. Notice what's happening to the shoulder guard. It's stretching all over the place. Now, no metal I know of stretches like this, so we don't want this stretching around like this. This is no good. Also notice another thing, if I rotate around here, that the metal neckband is moving all over the place too. That's not natural either. We don't want that. Okay, the neck should be staying pretty stationary. This cloth part in between here, all this leather stuff, that should be moving, but this stuff shouldn't. We can go ahead and grab on any bone and see what the effect is. Down the thighs here, this is great. This is exactly how we want it to be. You can see how that fluid motion, where it's partially controlled by the pelvis, by the spine, really creates a nice fluid motion here. Looks even better when you're actually running and doing different attack animations, whatever. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stretch this back here. Now we're going to go back into figure mode because we're going to need to make some tweaks here. Okay, so let me rotate this back around. Let's get into our Modify tab again. Okay, and select our mesh and go back into our Edit Envelopes. Okay, now up until now in the Select section, we've been selecting envelopes. Now we've pretty much got our envelopes set the way we want them. So now we're going to uncheck envelopes and select vertices. Okay, to make it a little easier to see, we're also going to go down here into Display at the very bottom of the rollout. We're going to go Show No Envelopes. Okay, just makes it a little cleaner so that we can see what we're doing. Alright, now when we're selecting vertices, what we want to be concerned with, I'm going to go ahead and expand this a little bit, is this one right here, weight properties. Okay, so this is what we're going to be using when we select vertices. So let me go ahead and select a bunch of vertices. Okay, and you can see these highlighted white vertices here are now selected. Down here in the ABS effect, now I can assign values to them. These values will change the weight or the color. For example, if I go ahead and click on individual vertices, look, we can see how much control that we have here. 0.8 is about 80%, and total control is red if I assign a value of 1. Okay, now you see this turned red, and that's total control. Okay, you don't want to go beyond 1. Okay, instead everything should be something between 1 and then some decimal below that. You can go pretty much down to anything you want. It'll just keep going from red to orange to blue. Okay, so a couple of things we want to do. We want to bring the shoulder guards under the total control of the clavicle bone. Okay, so let's go ahead and grab the left clavicle. Let's zoom in a little bit here. Okay, the left clavicle is this little blue bone right